Hey guys, welcome back to an interesting video on Wild Rift. So today we're back with another fundamentals guide, and today we're going to be going over all of the runes in Wild Rift. Now of course the rune system just got a huge revamp in the update that released a week ago. Now originally I wanted to do this on the day of the updates release, but of course as you guys probably know, I couldn't really do that because I was literally coughing non-stop. I'm a lot better now, so hopefully we can get through the video smoothly. So, of course, we have a lot of new runes, like, of course, these two, and we also have a new, rune system. So, we have definitely a lot to cover when it comes to all of the runes. So, first up, something I want to say is that normally when there is runes, there is like a meta. So, generally, when picking runes, there are sometimes certain minor runes that are extremely strong or certain major runes that are extremely strong. So for example, currently a minor rune that's really strong is Sudden Impact because it gives you 30 Armor Pen and Magic Pen whenever the conditions are met. And for example, Keystone runes, First Strike is currently very strong. So generally what runes you want to pick will follow the meta, so I suggest you kind of check out like YouTube videos, guides, or somewhere to see what runes you should take for the particular champion. But yeah, the first thing I want to go over in this runes video is how you select runes. So first thing is the top row are all keystones, so you can basically select any keystone that you want. And the second sort of thing you can do is you need to choose a main page. So here you can see that there are 4 pages of runes here. So you have to select a main page. So here we have Domination, Precision, Resolve, and Inspiration. You have to select the main page, and your main page and secondary page can't be the same. So you see, if you pick Domination in the secondary tree, you can't pick it in the primary tree. So here I have Domination on the left. If I try to pick Domination on the right, it's going to swap me over on the left. You can't pick the same tree on both sides. So next thing you do is, in each row you select, for the left side, the main tree, the primary tree, you have to select one from each row. So here you can see I can choose between these 3, I can choose between these 3, and I can choose between these 3. I cannot like choose 2 from the second row. It doesn't work. It doesn't allow me to do that. And on the right hand side for the secondary tree, you can choose from any tree that's not the main tree, and you can choose any one rune. So you can pick from anywhere, basically. Anywhere will do. So with all that out of the way of how you can go about picking runes, let's talk about all of the runes individually. And to do this, we're going to go into the other view, which allows you to see what the runes does a lot more easily. So go through them one by one and sort of talk about what it does. So Electrocute. 3 basic attacks or abilities is going to proc Electrocute, which is going to deal a burst of damage. This is generally going to be taken by assassins who want to deal, of course, a burst of damage. This is a lot more useful in the early game and in the early lane to be competitive. Generally taken by laners, not junglers, lane assassins who want the damage. Airy, generally taken by supports or mages. Of course, it does a little bit of poke whenever you land an attack, or alternatively, it also increases the amount that you shield if you're a support. Phase Rush is sort of like a really utility rune that after 3 attacks or after 3 basic attack or abilities, it grants you a little bit of movement speed and reduces the cooldown of your basic abilities. Really kind of useful runes. Generally is used by champions who want to get in and get out. So champions like, for example, I've seen Alistar take it, for example, you QE, auto, and then you run back out. Generally, it's not used too much. It's not too popular. Conquer is a really strong rune, which of course needs time to stack. So it stacks up to 6 times with each attack, and whenever you get a stack, you get a little bit of AD or AP, and when you get full stacks, you get additional Omnivamp. So the main draw of this rune is it gives you a lot of additional stats. However, you do take time to stack. So it's normally used on DPS champions like Bruisers and ADCs. Fleet Footwork is a rune that when you reach 100 stacks and you stack based off of your movement, will be able to grant you a small heal as well as some mana / energy restore. Generally, it's not a very popular rune, and you sort of take it in lanes that you really need to survive using that restore. Generally taken by very weak early game champions like Kassadin, or sometimes maybe even Kale. Something like that. Normally it's not really taken for the missing mana or energy. Normally it's taken for the heal in lane. So Kraken Slayer is 3 basic attacks, is going to proc some true damage which scales off of your AD and AP. Generally is taken by ADCs or by champions with 3 hit moves like Pantheon or Renekton that have 3 hit Ws. Grasp of the Undying is a very strong laning rune, generally taken in the top lane on melee champions that are tanky or fighters. Takes 4 seconds to charge, and whenever you fully charge it, you can basic attack to proc it, and proccing on that basic attack is going to give you a little bit of extra damage as well as increase your health permanently by a small amount. Aftershock. After you immobilize an enemy champion, you're going to get increased defenses for a couple of seconds, which scale off of your resistances, and it's going to explode after a few seconds, which will deal a little bit of damage around you. Now, this is generally taken by engaged supports, and it's generally taken for the increase in defense and not taken for the damage at all. Lethal Tempo is generally taken by ADCs, and it stacks up to 6 times, grants you a little bit of attack speed per stack, and when you reach full stacks, you gain 40% attack speed. First Strike, generally taken by assassins, particularly in the jungle. Whenever you're the first person to attack, and only if you are the first person, this is going to give you an extra bit of gold as well as true damage, and based off of how much damage you deal, you're going to gain additional gold. If the enemy attacks you, it's going to go on cooldown instead. Glacial Augment is generally taken by supports who have CC. Basically, whenever you attack an enemy champion, they're going to get slightly slowed, and when you immobilize them, it's going to trigger an effect that grants like 3 slow zones around them. It's going to slow them a lot, which basically makes them a lot easier to kill, both in lane and in team fights. So now we're going to go over the minor runes. So first up, Domination Tree. On the first row, we have a choice between Scorch, Shield Bash, and Sudden Impact. So Scorch, basically what it does is, every time you land an ability on a champion, it does a little bit of extra magic damage, generally taken on mages or poke champions. Shield Bash, whenever you receive a healing or shielding effect, the next attack against an enemy is going to deal a bonus bit of damage. Honestly, this damage is not a lot, and this is generally the worst one out of these 3. It does work on your own healing or shielding effects as well. So for example, on Nyla, if you're healing or shielding yourself, it works as well. Generally, it's taken either when you have a healing or shielding support, or if you have healing or shielding effects. Sudden Impact is the most OP of these 3 choices. It gives you 13 Armor Pen and Magic Pen for 4 seconds whenever you use a dash, a blink, a teleport, or you exit stealth. So, this also works with Flash, by the way, but you never want to Flash to proc your Sudden Impact, but this is just an FYI. Second row, we have Empowered Attack. Every 10 seconds, your next attack will be empowered to deal extra damage. Now, this one totally sucks because every 10 seconds is way too slow, and the damage is really, really little. This one is pretty horrible. Cheap Shot is you deal 10 to 45 bonus true damage to enemies whose movement are impaired. So, this one is generally taken only on champions who have CC. This, of course, does have a 7-second cooldown, so it's not like permanent. It's basically the worser version of Weakness. But this basically is only taken by champions who can immobilize enemies somehow, and they don't have a better option. Now, generally, the best one out of these 3 options is Mark of the Week. So Mark of the Week, what it does is, whenever you use an ability to damage an enemy champion, they're going to get a mark, and that mark basically increases their damage taken by 4 to 7%, which, of course, since it's percent damage, it's going to be pretty good because it's if you deal more damage, it's going to be a lot more value. So the mark will disappear if they take 3 ability damages. So if you're a mage, for example, and you combo them with 3 abilities, the mark is going to get consumed. Or if 7 seconds have passed, the mark is going to be consumed, and this itself has a 20-second cooldown. Alright, so next up, the final row. We have Eyeball Collection. Basically, every takedown is going to give you half a point of AD or 1 AP, but when you reach... okay, this is a little bit weird because you gain a stack for each unique champion takedown. So now it says it stacks up to 10 times, but it can only stack up to 5 times because of the fact that it's a unique champion takedown. So there's some kind of error here. It's either the error in the first part or the second part. So it's either you get a stack for each takedown but not unique takedown, or it's you stack up to 5 times. And also, after you stack up to X number of times, you gain a bonus 0.5 AD or 1 AP. I believe this is supposed to be something like 5 AD and 10 AP, or something like 10 AD and 20 AP or something like that. But the description is completely bugged at the moment. So in Genius Hunter, you gain 20 item ability haste, which basically means your items cool down 20% faster. So for example, your GA is going to come up 20% faster. You gain 4 item ability haste for each unique champion takedown. Again, stacks up to 5 times, and you gain, and basically that's just it. So far, I have not seen anybody take this rune at all, and unless a certain meta forms around taking Ingenious Hunter and building a lot of those kind of items that need cooldowns. If not, I don't really see anybody building this. Finally, we have Zombie Ward. Zombie Ward is generally taken by supports and junglers. After you remove an enemy ward, it's going to spawn a Zombie Ward, which basically acts as a ward for like 2 minutes, and it has only 1 health, so enemies can remove it just by auto-attacking it once. Every time you proc the Zombie Ward, you gain 2 AD or 7 AP, which is a lot, compared to like Eyeball Collection that gives you half AD and 1 AP. You stack it up to 5 times, and when you reach max stacks, this is where again there's another error. It's not 2 or 4, it's supposed to be a larger number, but again this is kind of bugged. So next up, we're going to take a look at the Precision Tree. So Precision Tree, on the first slot, you have 3 options. You have Brutal, basic attacks deal 12 to 19 bonus adaptive damage on hit against champions. This is basically the rune that is mainly taken by ADCs. Triumph, whenever you get a takedown, you restore 10% of your lost health, 10% of your max mana and energy. This is generally the worst rune out of these 3 because Brutal is taken by ADCs. Gathering Storm, which basically every 3 minutes you get increasing adaptive AD or AP. You can see that at minute 3 you get 2 AD, then minute 6 you get 5, minute 9 you get 9, and minute 12 you get 14, etc, etc, and AP scales are 10, 18, 28, etc. based on game time. This is mainly taken by mages because the AD scaling is horrible, but the AP scaling is amazing. So this one is basically only taken if you're going precision and you have nothing else better to take, which you get this on takedown or on reset champions like Samira or basically like Samira, who wants to get like extra health whenever she gets a takedown, or maybe like champions like Darius or something like that. But yeah, so next up we have Last Stand. When your health is below 60% health, you get additional 5 to 11% damage based on how much how low your health is, and maximum amount is when your health is below 30%, you're gonna get the full benefit, which is 11%. This is generally taken on champions who expect to get low. So think about champions like Tryndamere, for example, who is gonna get the maximum benefit when his ult is on, or on fighters who have a lot of lifesteal. Think of champions like, for example, Aatrox, who can get very low and then lifesteal all the way back up. So next up we have Giant Slayer. Giant Slayer, you deal bonus damage based off of your enemy's bonus health, up to 14% bonus damage when they're at 700 bonus health. So this basically scales off of your health. So every 100 health you get 2% extra damage. Every 1000 damage, sorry, you get 2% extra damage. So every 500 health you get 1% extra damage. This is an incredibly OP rune against tanky teams. So when I say tanky, I mean when they build a lot of health. So especially items like Warmogs and whatnot is really, really common at the moment, and items like Relic Shield, for example, give you health as well. So building a Relic Shield is already going to increase the damage you take by like 3%. So this is an incredibly OP item if there are like maybe 2 champions that build health on the enemy team. Finally, we have Coup de Grace. This one, when an enemy champion has below 40% health, you deal 7% bonus adaptive damage. So this is, of course, generally the easiest default option out of these 3, because you always want to kill the enemy regardless of who you are, unless of course you're a tank. If not, you kind of always want to kill the enemy, so this is going to help you do damage to the enemy when they're low. So next we have the Legend runes. So Legend Alacrity, you gain 3% attack speed at the start. Whenever you take down monsters, enemy champions, or minions, you get additional 20% attack speed total. Now here, Legend Tenacity, you get 3% tenacity and slow resist. Whenever you take down, again, same thing, monsters, enemy champions, or minions, you get up to an additional 15% tenacity and 20% slow resist. Bloodline, same deal. Whenever you get 1% Omnivamp, and whenever you take down blah blah blah, you get 7% extra Omnivamp. Now, in my opinion, Legend Bloodline is the most OP out of these 3, because Omnivamp, which is basically healing from physical damage, magical damage, and true damage, is very, very hard to come by in the game. Of course, you have Berserker Greaves, but not Berserker Greaves, you have Gluttonous Greaves, but aside from that, this is really hard to get, so I think this is kind of the most strong one. Resolve. So here the first choice is Font of Life. So Font of Life, hitting an enemy champion with an attack or ability gives them a mark, and you or your allies can trigger this mark. And this is going to heal your ally for 3% of your max health. Not your ally's max health, but your max health, as well as 15% of your AP. And it's going to heal yourself for 1% of your max health and 5% of your AP. As you can see, this is a supportive kind of rune, which is going to, of course, heal you and your ally both. So next up, we have Courage of the Colossus, which you gain a shield that absorbs 25 to 45 based on level, shield plus 1% of your max health for 3 seconds when you immobilize an enemy champion. Now, something to note is Courage of the Colossus is a pretty bad rune because it's competing with Font of Life, and even if you're a tank, this is going to give you 1% of your max health shield. But Font of Life is going to heal you for 1% of your max health, which is basically equivalent. And it's also going to heal your ally for 3% of your max health, which is a lot better. And the only thing here is you get 25 to 45 shield. But 25 to 45 shield is like 1 auto attack or less than, it's like half auto attack from an ADC. So this is a pretty bad rune. Because if you can immobilize someone, you can also apply Font of Life to them. So anyways, nullifying orb, you get a shield when you're low. So when you fall below 35% of your health, you get a shield that absorbs 60 to 190 damage for 4 seconds. This is generally horrible compared to like once again, Font of Life is generally the best. The rest of the options are pretty bad. Here, Second Wind, you get 5 health every 5 seconds, and when you take damage, you get 6 plus 2% of your missing health over the next 5 seconds. This is doubled for melee champions, so this is generally taken either in Baron lane or in bad matchups. For example, in mid, if you're playing like an Irelia or like a Kali against like a pokey champion like Orianna, for example, Second Wind can help you get through the lane normally as, of course, your secondary rune choice. Loyalty is the most horrible rune in the game. You get 2 armor and magic and 5 magic resist, and your closest ally champions gets the opposite, which is 5 armor and 2 magic resist. Completely useless rune. You should never take this over Second Wind and Bone Plating, even if you're a support. Bone Plating, probably the strongest rune in the entire game. When you take damage from an enemy champion, the current and next 3 champion abilities or basic attacks within the next 1.5 seconds deals 30 to 60 less damage, which seems like not too much, but reducing the damage by 30 to 60 like for the next 3 attacks is huge because it counters mages and their combos, it counters ADCs and their basic attacks. It basically just reduces the damage you take a lot, both in laning phase and in team fights. Next one, Overgrowth. Whenever 2 minions or 1 monster is killed, you permanently gain 3 maximum health, and this is indefinite. You can get unlimited stacks. When you reach 30 stacks, you gain 3.5% maximum health. So this is a very, very scaling rune that basically gives you a lot of health over time, but of course this is kind of hard countered by a rune like Giant Slayer. But honestly, I think that the other runes are a lot more stronger in this page, so Overgrowth is not really that good. Revitalize, you gain 5% extra heal or shield power if your target is below 40% health, and you get additional 10% heal or shield power. So this could be an additional 15% heal shield power, which is huge. This is an absolutely amazing rune for supports and even for normal champions that just heal or shield. Champions like Set, for example, this is going to increase his shield. Senna's this is going to increase her heal on her Q. Now, Perseverance is also a very OP rune. You get 10% tenacity for free. So, aside from that, you get 16 to 30 armor and magic resist based on level for 1.5 seconds when you're immobilized. Now, this, in my opinion, is a lot more OP for squishies than tanks, because if you're a squishy like a mage or a marksman, getting extra 10% tenacity and extra armor and magic resist for free is completely overpowered because you don't build any in your build. Whereas if you're a tank, you already built those in your build, so this becomes not very valuable. I think this is a lot more OP for squishy champions, and it's just really good because of that. So finally, we have Inspiration. First row, we have Sweet Tooth, which increases your honey fruit healing by 20%, and also when you or nearby people take the honey fruit, nearby allies, not enemies, take the honey fruit, you get 15 gold. Now, some people like this rune. I don't like this rune personally. I think it's something you only take if you don't have any better options, and honestly, now that rune choices are so diverse, I don't really see people taking Sweet Tooth too much. And the whole issue of Inspiration tree is not many people are going to actually choose Inspiration as their primary tree. I think most of the Inspiration runes are meant to be secondary runes, not primary runes. Next, we have Hex Flash. Hex Flash basically replaces your flash. It's a flash that you have to sort of charge up for like I think like quite a few seconds, like 3-4 seconds or 5 seconds to get the maximum distance. And then you're gonna blink. So this is very useful for engaging or getting over walls. So this is generally taken on engage supports. You can use this from a bush to flash out of the bush and engage, or you can use this to get over walls and get around vision. But generally this is something that's only going to be very good if you're like very high elo and you know like where enemy placing vision and like how to use it from a bush that's unwarded to surprise an enemy and things like that. It's really hard to use for inexperienced players. Item crafting is also another one that's really only really useful in like higher elo, because you're gonna pay an extra 150 gold to not be able to base, but you can buy an item outside of the fountain. So this is good on champions that don't need to recall to base to restore health and mana. So champions that basically are not very mana reliant and have a lot of health. So for example, maybe champions like Shen, if you have like War Marks on Shen, you have unlimited health, you don't need to recall to base because you have energy. You can like get this to basically just buy items outside of base. You never have to recall. It could be pretty OP on certain champions. Maybe even a champion like Nyla, for example. You have unlimited health sustained because of your passive as well as your lifesteal from your items. You have very low mana cost. Probably taking Honey Fruit here and there can restore your mana by enough. And this could be really good. Next up, we have Transcendence. Basically, you gain 6 ability haste at level 1, level 6, and at level 11, when your basic attack hits a target, you're going to reduce it for 15% of the remaining cooldown. This is really good on mages in particular, who want more ability haste. Futures Market allows you to go into debt. Your debt amount is 145 base and 7 per minute. And this is going to allow you to, of course, buy more items than how much gold you have. Now this again is only going to be an item that's really good in high elo, because in low elo you really can't use this rune properly, because this is only really good for getting certain item power spikes at certain points in time. So for example, most ADCs can complete one item before first dragon. For example, if you get 1 kill and you have Futures Market, you might be able to complete your tier 2 boots as well. So you really have to know what items you want to get at what specific times in the game, and then you take Futures Market to help you get to that specific power spikes. But generally this is a really hard rune to use. Pathfinder. Gain 30% bonus movement speed in the river, and when out of combat you can restore missing health or missing mana and gain extra movement speed. So this is really useful on supports for roaming or even certain junglers who want to walk through the river to gank. And also it's underrated in terms of the health and mana restore. Most of the time you're using it to restore mana, but just standing in the river allows you to restore mana, which is honestly pretty good. So here Nimbus Cloak, whenever you use a spell, you're gonna get an additional 10 to 40% movement speed for 3 seconds. And this is affected, how much you get is based on the spell's cooldown. So for example, if you flash, you're gonna get additional 40% movement speed, that's the most. But if you like ignite or something, you're not gonna get as much. This used to be a really good rune because you don't have a lot of other options, but now there are kind of a lot of other options. So this is basically a rune that's really OP for Zoe because she can spam spells because of her W. But aside from that, this rune, you can take it if you want, but I don't see too many people taking it. Demolish is a rune that I think most tanks or top laners will be interested in. When you're within the range of a tower, you're gonna start gaining a charge every half a second, and when you reach 6 stacks, you can proc it on the tower to deal an additional 200 plus 30% max health physical damage. Once again, a lot of top laners who build health are gonna like this to take down towers faster and get more tower plates at the start. Finally, we have Mana Flow Ban. So this rune cannot be used with this champion. Yeah, because I'm on Garen now, so Garen doesn't have mana. But anyways, hitting a champion with an ability or an power attack permanently increases your mana by 30 up to 300 mana. So you need 10 times to fully stack this. This is useful on mana hungry champions, but honestly after the mana boots existed, you are honestly almost never going to want to take Mana Flow Ban because it's kind of a waste of a rune slot. So that is it for going through every single rune in the game. Thank you guys so much for watching the video, and goodbye.